Beyond the fireballs and the lightning bolts of D&D is a wondrous world of homebrew that few players ever get to experience. So today, I'm going to introduce you. Here are 5 homebrew spells that you can use at your table today. Starting off strong, we have the 4th level spell, Whiteout. You create a blizzard with a radius of 30 feet at a point you can see within 90 feet that heavily obscures vision. Any creature that starts their turn there or enters it for the first time on their turn must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 2d6 cold damage and 2d6 bludgeoning damage, or half as much on a successful save. You might initially think that this is just a worse version of Ice Storm, but there is one huge difference, being that Whiteout is concentration up to a minute. This means the damage isn't simply a one and done like Ice Storm. You can continually deal damage with this over the entire minute. Sure, the damage isn't great for a 4th level spell, but it's really not necessarily about the damage it deals. The spell helps you maintain control over an area of a battlefield and prevent damage, which makes it an incredibly effective battlefield control spell. And being able to prevent damage is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than dealing damage. But if you're someone who just enjoys damage, you could technically deal up to 40d6 over the course of a minute, assuming you only hit one creature with this. So considering that, Whiteout is definitely worth considering for that 4th level spot in your spellbook. Next up, we have one of my favorite spells I've ever created, and that would be the 3rd level spell, Eclipse. You eclipse the sun or the moon, when depending upon which, you either create a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse calls down a beam of hyper-concentrated moonlight with a 15-foot radius at a point you can see within 90 feet. Creatures must make a Constitution saving throw, taking 3d8 radiant damage and becoming blinded, or half as much on a successful save with no additional effect. A lunar eclipse, on the other hand, calls down a beam of reflected sunlight with a 5-foot radius at a point you can see within 60 feet that ignites flammable objects. Creatures caught within must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 48 fire damage, or half as much on a successful save. In addition to that damage, if a creature fails their dex save, they are ignited and take an extra d8 at the start of their subsequent turns. The effect lasts for up to a minute, but creatures do get a free saving throw at the end of their turns to end the effect. Personally, I am a huge fan of spells that have multiple effects, which is probably apparent when you're looking at this spell. It really plays into the whole astral, lunar, solar kind of theme, which is a personal favorite of mine. And although it sounds like it does a lot, it is a little bit restrictive, as the timing of when you use the spell determines what kind of beam you use. This not only provides more unique and interesting options for combat, but also forces the caster to think past just the initial, oh, this rolls more dice, so I'll cast that. And making combat more dynamic like that is something that I think D&D needs a lot more of. So if you want to make combat more interesting, take a look at Eclipse, because it's honestly pretty cool. For spell number 3, we have a spell for these speedy boys out there with the 2nd level spell, Storm Surge. You imbue yourself with the power of a thunderstorm and rush forward in a straight line up to double your movement speed. This movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, and you can move through creatures. Any creature you move through must make a Constitution saving throw or become stunned until the end of their next turn. And that's it. As simple as that sounds, this is incredibly powerful. The ability to stun a target is worth so much more than people give it credit for. And this isn't just a single target stun, it has the potential to stun multiple targets. Consider this: if you use your action to cast Storm Surge and you hit 3 creatures but only one of them gets stunned, you effectively just traded your action for that one creature's entire turn. But if you stun 2 creatures, you traded your action for 2 creatures' turns. The more creatures you hit with the spell increases its efficiency and power exponentially. It's actually kind of overpowered if you think about it. Now, it is worth mentioning that it does use Constitution saving throws, which is a pretty good save amongst all creatures in 5th edition, but I kinda had to do that to balance out how powerful this spell could be. But with all of that mathed out, it's not hard to see why Storm Surge would be very easily worth picking up as soon as you get the chance. Now, before we move on to the 4th spell for today, I wanted to let you know that all of these spells and more are from a module I'm writing called Crit's Compendium. It has over 100 spells, 6 subclasses, all alongside a bunch of feats, magic items, and more that you can use at your table today. All of those 100 spells will be released in videos like this, but if you want early access to those and all of my homebrew, you can join as a member or patron down below to see everything I've created. But don't worry if you can't, because like I said, everything will be released slowly over time in videos like this. But now we move on to the 4th spell for today's list with the 5th level Illusory Puppet. You create an illusory puppet of a creature you're familiar with for up to an hour. You can control the puppet and see and hear through its senses as if you were the creature itself. The puppet is able to perfectly mimic a creature's voice or sounds it would make, but its physical appearance is limited to your knowledge of that creature. However, if you have a piece of that creature, such as a fingernail or a lock of hair, then the physical appearance is perfect, although that is consumed upon casting of the spell. I know that was a lot of talking, but this spell has a lot of specific detail because of how powerful the spell could be. Assuming you have a part of the creature, there is literally no way an individual could know this was an illusion unless they had physical interaction with it. And that can be an incredibly powerful tool for information gathering scenarios. However, if you don't have a part of the creature, then the illusion is limited by your knowledge. Information about that creature that might not be known would be up for scrutiny against others who know the creature better, such as haircuts, scars, marks, or more. Aside from that though, if you're looking for a really fun and powerful way to gather information, then Illusory Puppet's the spell for you. And for the final spell on today's list, we have the 5th level Gale Surge. You buffet a creature you can see within 60 feet with powerful gusts of wind. On a hit, a creature takes 48 slashing damage and is wrapped around by deafening wind, which deafens them and prevents them from casting spells with a verbal component as if affected by the silence spell. If you don't understand why this spell is arguably broken, then you don't understand why silencing a creature is so powerful. Sure, the damage is honestly terrible, but silencing a creature is honestly bananas strong. This single spell can heavily restrict choices enemies have when casting spells, and can hamstring any creature that heavily relies on spellcasting. Imagine you use this on a lich and whoops, they can't cast that blight they were about to anymore. But the one saving grace for this spell is that it has to hit its target to silence it. This means spells that increase AC or make it more difficult to hit, such as shields, silvery barbs, counterspell, or more, can really make Gale Surge struggle. Even with that though, I think the spell could still be incredibly broken, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I read every comment, almost always reply, and who knows, I might even feature your comment in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on Friday.